Okay, so today we are going to do Nextpart B2C basic training. The key word in today's webinar is basic. Really the purpose of today is to take you guys through a Nextpart B2C site and of course learn how to use the dashboard. The intended audience is the people or persons that are going to be running and processing orders. So higher level things like how you manage a web design and how you build inventory files and or product tables. We're going to talk about it, but it's going to be brief. And of course there's videos within the dashboard that go into greater detail on most of these topics. Anyway, so there you have it. The very first thing we're going to do is we're going to start off at nextpartb2c.com. And if you haven't done so already, make sure that nextpartb2c.com is bookmarked in your browser, and make sure you know how to log in to your account at Nextpart. That is where all of your support is going to start, be it an email that you send us, a chat, or a phone call that you'd like to have with us. All support must start at nextpartb2c.com. So when you get to nextpartb2c.com, you're going to click on account, click on login, and if you do not know your login, of course you can click on request a password reset. For that to work, you're going to have to already have an account there, and all Nextpart B2C users already do have an account. The minute that we create you a site, or if you've signed up for a free trial, that email address will be the one that is used for your account. Another important comment is that you can add as many email addresses as you want. We call them sub-accounts. And once you add the sub-account, you can turn on and off various rights and privileges at the account level. And any email address that is attached to your account can simply send an email to support@nextpartb2c.com, and a ticket will be created from that particular person for your particular website. So we're not going to talk about that other than, or any details regarding that. Just make sure that you do that. You should be able to figure out how to do it yourself. And away we go. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to one of the demo sites to use as the basis for today's training. I'm going to use the basic package because what you may not know is the commerce system is the same whether it's basic, pro, or SEO. In other words, once you add an item to the shopping cart and after that is the same on all of our packages. And really what we're going to do today is spend some time in the dashboard mostly. Now sometimes when I click on the demo sites, because they're public sites, they've been messed up. So let's just see where we're at. Okay, and I laughed because I didn't think it was going to come up. First thing I want to do is go into the dashboard real quick, change it to demo mode so that we don't accidentally send anybody an order, process any credit cards, mainly my own. So I'm logging in with a master user ID and password. I'm going to click on settings, which as you can see is up here in the right corner. And on the very first tab, on the basic tab I should say, is the setting for whether or not the site is in demo mode. So you can see it's in demo mode, do not place orders. Okay, this is all looking good. I'm just going to quickly bounce through it and make sure that it's still configured so that when we go to use it, it'll work. Just give me a second here. Yeah, that's all looking good. And when I click on supplier maintenance, I click on thank you. Let's see. Okay, I just want to make sure that I have enough configured so that the demo is going to work. Alright, so I think we should be okay. Now this particular template is just one that happens to be assigned to the demo store. It could be any template. My goal is to take you through an outline of 10 different topics that we're going to talk about today. And those topics are sales, returns, credit card processing, customer management, coupons and discounts, product maintenance, uploading of product data, again just going to be a quick discussion about it, pricing, store setup, and basic content management. So that's what we're going to talk about today. If you do have a question along the way, please feel free to raise your hand in the webinar and ask a question. It looks like at least Cody's figured out how to do that. I've got two screens set up on my computer, and I'll be glancing over as I'm talking. Sometimes though I get kind of stuck in a bit of a rut, and I may not mention your question right away or see your question right away. If that happens, I'm going to answer questions at the end of the webinar. So my goal is to try to get through the outline in about 45 minutes and leave 5 or 10 minutes at the end for questions. All right, so step one, as I said, is sales, or I should say the first section in our webinar is sales. First thing we're going to do is a part number lookup. Now I don't know any part numbers off the top of my head that are configured with this store, so I'm going to go do a lookup first by year, make, and model. So I clicked on the accessories tab. Really my goal is to get a search result so I can add it to the cart so that I can check out, so that we've got an order to play with. So I'm just going through year, make, model. I think we happen to be using the OE accessory catalog. And let's see, we're going to add one of these. I like that it says black, but then it's orange here. Click on add to cart. Okay, now I could have just done a part number search. That's what's on my outline to do. And had I done a part number search for 1780 2448, we would have landed on the page just before this one. Let's pretend I did that. I think you guys all understand the concept of a part number search. So we've added to the cart, and at this point we're going to click on freight quote and put in a zip code. Now what I'm demonstrating here is really just basic store operation. You know, whether you're on our SEO package, our Pro package, or our basic package, the flow is going to be the same. You do a lookup by vehicle, or you do a lookup by part number, you'll land on the search result page, you click on add to cart. Now I clicked on freight quote, which I would say is probably the most popular button to click on in the shopping cart. Unfortunately, it's not checkout. You know, everybody wants to see what exactly the freight or the shipping is going to cost. And this particular demo store has been configured, it looks like it says freight has been estimated. Now, OE stores often don't have weights and measures at the part number level, and when that happens, as you can see, the system is going to estimate freight. I apologize for that. Someone's trying hard to get through to me here. Let me just turn that off. Give me 1 second. Sorry, I'm just trying to turn off my my phone so we don't get bugged. Okay, anyway, so the reason why we got $6.95 is because in the store configuration of this demo store, we've got minimum shipping of $6.95. Typically what you would see here is either UPS or FedEx or USPS, or some combination of the three could show up. And that quote that you would see, or the freight charge, would be based on the weight and measure of the shopping cart. All right, so we're going to just let it be the $6.95. We're going to click on checkout. Oh, look, stores in demo mode, it's not going to let us do a checkout, which I forgot about. So let me go back to the store settings. We're going to take it out of demo mode for a minute. This is good practice for you guys who want to set up your store in demo mode. Obviously, when you go live, you need to be out of demo mode, or else your buyer wouldn't be able to check out. Click on no. Oh, apologize. My Mac is slowing down. Okay, anyway, and I'm going to click back, and then click on checkout, and it should allow me to check out now. Oh, maybe I didn't save it. Sometimes the demo stores may have been hard-coded to not allow checkout. Let's see, hold on. Yeah, so disable checkout. You wouldn't believe how many people buy even when it tells you not to buy. Even though people used to see this message, they would keep going. All right, let me just reload. Should let me continue now. Okay, so I want to go back and show you what I just did. So we have a setting you can see in checkout that says disable checkout. Obviously, you're only ever going to turn that on if you're doing some maintenance to the site. But I guess in demo mode, we will allow checkout. It's this disable checkout that was turned on, and that was the reason why I couldn't check out. All right, So we're back to the checkout page. Now, an important thing to see about our checkout, notice it says if you already have an account with us, log in here. Well, about 80% of your buyers are going to be first time and one and only checkouts. That's just how the business to consumer world works. So the reason we kind of downgrade this, or we kind of, this is where you see it. You do not have to have an account in the site to actually check out. We consider that to be a feature. And the goal is to get the buyer, to the one-page checkout, which is what we call this. I guess I've never checked out before. Otherwise, this form would probably already be filled in for me. And I'm just typing in whatever address. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but on the freight quote page in the shopping cart, I typed in a different zip code. So I'm typing in a different one here. And the reason I do that is if the site was configured for real-time shipping, it would actually recalculate shipping. So we recalculate shipping always on the checkout page because we want to make sure that the buyer doesn't play any games with regards to where they are. All right. So you can see again, this store is not configured for real-time shipping, so we're still going to get that $6.95. And in the payment methods, this particular store, and I keep saying this particular store because there's literally hundreds and hundreds of different settings that you can change at the store level that control things like payment and shipping and what you see on this checkout page. So you can see here we have PayPal checkout as an option. All right, we have open account. Open account, by the way, would allow my buyer to check out without paying, and that's something you can simply turn on and off inside the store settings. Or the more popular one, of course, pay by credit card. So I'm going to put in a fake credit card number that I happen to have memorized because I've been using it for years. And hopefully the site is not going to force me to charge that credit card. Remember, we're not in demo mode. You know what? I'm going to go back and put it in demo mode because I don't want the system to stop me from checking out as a result of using that fake credit card. All right, we'll say test order here and then place order. Now I should have a confirmation page. Great. All right, here's the confirmation page, and let me explain what's happened. So first off, we generate a number sequentially for every order that comes out, and we call that the order number or the invoice number. You can use the term interchangeably. If you notice, we created an account for this user with this username and this password. This document that you see here, or page, is going to be emailed to both the buyer and the seller. And as you can see here, we're asking the buyer to log into his account here. Now, the only reason they would ever want to log in is to check the status of their order or to track the order. All right, and as you can see, here's the whole order. Right now, basically all we did was we just did a walkthrough of what a typical sale or transaction would look like. I could have done a part number search. I could have started my lookup by VIN number. I chose to click this link called accessories, which launched the year, make, model lookup page by page. Doesn't matter again whether it's basic or pro. The flow and everything I've described is the same. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the dashboard, and if I was logging in for the first time, I would be putting my domain name or my temporary site name, depending on whatever stage you're at with your site, and the page admin.epc. Most of our customers will bookmark that page. Now, you don't have to bookmark that page. You can bookmark really any page that you find inside of the dashboard. Okay, but the dashboard itself is going to show you your sales, and it's going to show you your open orders. Now, as you process these open orders, this list obviously will get smaller. So all these orders that you see in here that are declined basically were test orders, or people that have happened upon the demo site and have actually tried to place orders. Now, depending on how your store is configured is going to depend on what happens with these open orders. So if you set your site to automatically process credit cards in real time at checkout, by the way, that's about 99% of our customers, you're going to see typically here either approved or declined. Okay, now if you see failed, that's going to mean that your store is not properly configured with your payment gateway. Now, because our store is in demo mode and all that, we probably don't have the right credential set up. That's why you're not seeing anything here. All right, now we're not going to talk about the configuration today very much, because configuration is something that you do at your site certification. And really, if you're in our webinar today, your site should already be certified And the last thing you're doing is this, this basic training to get your store launched. All right. But if you're not and you're here today before certification, just know that, some of the testing of your site, the site might misbehave because you're not, you haven't gone through the certification, which means things like payment processing and configuring with your back-end system haven't been done yet. Therefore, your site might, misbehave is the term I like to use. All right. Now, at this point, if I was a seller and I wanted to process the order, I would probably click on View the Order, and I would review the order manually before actually charging the credit card or fulfilling the order. Now, the system will generate notes for you if there's problems with the configuration or just if things have been done with the site, maybe by your colleagues. So you can see here there's an admin note for this order telling you freight has been estimated. All right, and basically that's a note to me as the seller that, hey, I didn't calculate the accurate shipping for this particular customer. Now, there's a million different reasons why that might happen, too many to go into today, but I think you heard me say already that probably the site doesn't have shipping properly configured, in which case we're estimating shipping. All right, so if I wanted to now override the shipping, I could change the amount here to some other number. Let's say it's really $15 and hit update, and that should change the shipping charge to the actual, $15, and you can see that it did. Now, I have not actually charged this consumer's credit card yet, and we know that because, as I said in the configuration or when I was doing the demo, it was really set to demo mode. So I just wanted to be able to put in any old credit card number. So this is a good example of I could override the shipping charge. I changed it to $15, and now I want to charge the customer's credit card. I just click on Charge or Capture. Now, let's say we try to do that and it's declined because the customer's credit card number is bad. I can click on Change, and I could re-enter in a credit card number here. Now, one thing to take notice we're not showing you the credit card number. That's because it's currently illegal to save credit card numbers. That would be not PCI compliant. So the best you can ever do is tell your buyer, well, you gave us a credit card number that ends with 3004 with this expiration date. And again, you can change it by clicking on here. Now, as you can see, you can change also the bill to, and this is important, right, especially for credit card processing, because most likely your payment gateway is going to require the bill to address and zip code to match the customer's credit card to actually approve the charge. Now, in our system, we don't manage any of that. Your payment gateway is going to have additional settings that you're going to want to look at, and that's controlled by you. Not by us, but our system integrates the same way with a couple of dozen different payment gateways, so you don't really have to worry about doing anything on our side. When I say our side, I mean in the settings over here, other than giving it the proper user IDs and passwords. So anyway, you can change the bill to, you can change the ship to, you can charge the credit card. Once a credit card has been charged, you're also going to see buttons here for void and or refund. And it can be that simple to void and or refund the order. Now, any order you don't actually sell, you should, obviously, you want to deal with every order. And what I mean by that is, you don't want to leave anybody hanging because customers are getting emails with accounts to log in and they're going to look at the status of the order. So you always want to make sure you touch every order at some level. Now, if you set up your site for automatic fulfillment, the system is automatically touching, so to speak, the order status. All right, and you don't have to do anything to it manually. More about that in a few minutes. So the purpose of me showing you this was, let me take you through what we've done so far. Is we've sold a part by doing a part number, we did it by a vehicle lookup. We added it to the cart, we checked it out, and now what I've shown you is how you would manually charge the credit card if the site was set to manually charge those cards. Most likely your site's going to be set to automatically charge them, in which case this order is pretty much going to have been completed. Now, fulfillment is something totally different. When it comes to fulfillment, we have a button up here called suppliers. At a minimum, you're going to have one supplier, and that supplier would be yourself. At a maximum, you could have 2 or 3 different suppliers. So if I click on suppliers, let's see what we have in this particular store. I click on search, because I don't know what we have. And you can see here we have 3 different suppliers set up. We have one called IMC, one called Our Warehouse, which is of course Our Warehouse, and one called WAW, which is another distributor. Our Warehouse is us, and these numbers you see are just system generated numbers. We call it a profile PK, if you care. And we're storing this number within the database that's attached to the line items on the order. And basically the system is set up so that you can deal with multiple suppliers and send those orders electronically to the multiple suppliers. Now, again, we're not going to get into the configuration and setup because that goes beyond basic training, but you should have at least one basic supplier set up for your store. Now I'm hitting my back button. I want to go back to the order, because from here I'm going to now fulfill my order. Now I'm looking at my outline to see if I've gone past what I'm supposed to be doing here, and it looks like no. In fact, I didn't even have order fulfillment on my outline, so it's a good thing that I caught it. If I click on send one of one to WHI, what the system's doing right now is it's displaying a list of suppliers that are configured to work with my store. Now, again, depending on how the site is configured, you might actually see some info here. Meaning, if you're uploading an offline inventory file for all of your suppliers, the system would actually try to help you out here and show you who the system thinks, or sorry, which supplier the system thinks has the item that you might send it to. So in the case that we're in now, I'm going to just click on stock check. I don't even know what's going to happen because I don't know if the credentials are right. But what the system should do is it should try to send the order as I created it to the supplier called, gosh, I didn't even pay attention, hold on, to the supplier called WAW. So again, I click on stock check, and whatever next part user ID and password is configured, it's going to try to stock check the order. Well, you can see here it sent this part number to WAW, and you can see we've got nothing in stock, and it says call store for availability. Now, because I have an existing relationship with WAW, I would know as the seller if I can send them orders that don't have stock. So if I click on finish, it's going to electronically send them the order. Well, I don't want to send them the order because I don't have stock and I don't want to call them. So let's try a different one. Let's try this particular supplier. So we try to send it to IMC. You can see it lists the default warehouse, but they also don't have stock. If I want to send it to them, I can simply click finish. And of course, last but not least, I'm going to have our warehouse. And most likely, even if I don't have stock, I would send that order to myself. Now again, we're in a demo environment. I don't have credentials set up, so I can't complete this order. But if I did complete this order, what would happen is the back-end system that I send it to would respond with yet another number, right? And that would be the warehouse management system or the dealer management system's order number. And instead of seeing this link right here, I would actually see the order number, and it would tell me which supplier that I chose. When that all happens, an email is also going to be sent to the to the buyer saying the order has been processed and it's now in our warehouse and we're going to pick, pack, and ship it soon. All right, and that email, of course, can be customized by you if you want to. What we recommend doing is, of course, testing it so you can see how it looks, and of course, use your own email address. And you should be doing that at least on 2 or 3 orders before you launch your live site. Now, what I've just shown you is how to buy, how to buy a part from your own site, how to manually charge the credit card or change any of the aspects of the order from within the order management. We did that by clicking on View the Order. And we also fulfilled the order. And I showed you how to fulfill the order through one of your many supplier settings. So if you have any questions about any of that process right now would be a good time to ask. Remember, the way you ask the question is you raise the hand in the meeting, and then of course I'll explain it. I'm just going to give everybody a second to ask the question. Okay, so we have a question of, is there a way to, well, this is actually more about inventory. And the question was, is there a way to not have to do the real-time inventory so that on that page, when we clicked on fulfill or send the order, that we would have the counts. So I'll show you what it is that we're talking about again. So if I click here, send one of one item, I think what the customer on our webinar here is asking is, how do we get these numbers to go from 0 to some value? Well, it's a bit of a complex topic, but I just want to show you real quick. So if I click on suppliers and then supplier maintenance, and then click on search, and we choose, let's say IMC as an example. Okay, if I click on add FTP, you'll see here we can enter in the location, the FTP file name that we expect to be downloading, and the user IDs and passwords. And what's really important is that we choose the right format so that the system knows how to process the offline inventory file. So if I did that and I filled in all these credentials and I hit add FTP, on the previous page there's a button here that says get inventory. And the get inventory will run a server-side process to pull the file from IMC, the distributor, and update your store's inventory. Now we have a scheduled process that runs on our server, and every day it will look for all stores that have offline inventory configured, and it will go and get the inventory from as many different distributors as you need. Now getting that stuff set up and configured can be a bit of a chore, and you should do it slowly and carefully, and you should do it before your store goes live. But once you do all that, when you click on this send link, what the system will do is it'll show you, how many line items on your given order are available from your given supplier. And that'll save you from having to manually stock check the orders against the multiple suppliers. Now, if you're wondering, is there a way to automate this? The answer is yes, there is. But you can only automate one line code per supplier. Meaning, IMC is actually an interesting example. IMC is a distributor that also has catalog data inside of WHI. So you could actually automate with multiple suppliers IMC parts through your site, provided you have an account with IMC and you've got it all configured to do so. All right, so that went a little bit beyond what it is that I wanted to talk about. So next we're going to move to returns. Now, I did an order for this customer, Bernholtz. Let's click here to get into the order. And then let's go to edit the customer info. I'm pretty sure I have a login button. Well, I actually don't. All right. What I want to do is I want to get the password that the system generated for me. And the email that I used, I think, was my personal Gmail. You'll understand what I'm doing in a minute. Okay. So first, actually, before I go do what I want to do, I want to create a return and show you guys how that works. I need to change the status of this order manually because I can't create a return for a part that hasn't shipped. So what I just did was this. From the dashboard, let me slow it down a little bit. From the dashboard, I clicked on this word today. And this brings up what we call the invoice report. Some customers prefer to use the invoice report as opposed to the open order report on the dashboard to process orders. And the main reason is I can manually control the status of the order from here. So if I click on that, that's actually a button. I can change it to shipped and click OK. Now I'm not 100% sure if that's going to be enough. You know what? I actually know it isn't enough. It is not enough for me to create a return based on that order. So what I'm going to do is I am going to sneak into the order. I'm going to click on Edit Invoice Header. And I'm going to scroll down to the field called CC Result. Now I'm cheating a little bit here. Normally you wouldn't have to do this. And I'm going to type Approved. This still may not be enough because the system has a log of all credit card transactions, but I'm going to try it and see what happens. So to create a return as the buyer, I'm going to go back out to the website, and where is my, here we go, my account. Now it might log me in. All right, it logged me in automatically, so I wasn't sure if it was going to remember because I've been playing around in the admin. But as you can see, the site has remembered who I am as a buyer, and the customer would click on order history. Oh, okay, look, good thing I do have the password. So it logged me out when I did that to make sure that I am who I say I am. I had saved it in my clipboard. I click on login, and now it should take me to my order history. Now, I think it's going to show you, yeah, here it is, the most recent order that I did, and you can see here it says create return request. Alright, yeah, so I was afraid that was going to happen. Now a couple of things just happened. Because I'm logged in as an admin, the site recognized that and it brought me back into the admin. Obviously as a buyer, they would never get into your admin. But here's the bad news. The bad news is I can't show you guys how the darn return function works because I don't have a paid order for this particular customer. So what I need to do is I need to find one that's actually been paid. Let's see if we can do that. There's got to be an order in here that shows as paid. approved. So if I click on the dashboard and I click on sales, now I'm back into that invoice report. Instead of seeing the results, I can actually do a report just on orders that have been paid. And I'm afraid I may not be able to find one. What am I doing? Financial status. Okay, approved. And let's do shipped. And let's do it for year to date. Let's see if we get lucky and have one. Well, of course it's the one I just did. So it looks like the bad news is I can't visually show you how the returns process works because my demo store doesn't have a paid order. So I'm going to just talk you through it. And you know what? Let's just try one more thing. 793, so it's only 102. Okay, so my order number is 102562. If I click on sales and then returns and then create a return request, 102562, and I type in 102562 and click go. Let's see if it lets me do it. Yeah, it's not going to let me do it. Yeah, unfortunately, not a great example. So I'll just explain what happens. So the return process, I think you have an idea. The customer would go to his account, find his order, click on create a return request, and the return request is going to offer some options or reasons as to why you might do a return. And here are the different reasons. So I think when our system created your store, by default it's going to create all of these different reasons or return reasons. And you can see from inside the return menu, you can manage those return reasons. So what we want you to do is you can change the descriptions. Okay, you can hide them, as you can see. In other words, you may not want to allow people to choose incorrectly specified. And you can also control whether or not there's going to be a restock fee. But the screen that you haven't seen is it's going to walk you through step one. You choose the order. Step two, which items on the order do you want to return? So you basically change the quantity from 0 to 1 or whatever. The system's going to make sure that you haven't already returned that item. And if you haven't, it creates the return request. Well, the return request is just a request. It basically sends an email to the buyer that says, hey, we know you want to return this part. We haven't approved the return yet. Sit tight and wait until you get a second email. And that email will have the address in it from which you need to send the return to. Well, that whole process works similarly to the ordering process. An email goes to the buyer, an email goes to the seller, that's you, and then you have a dashboard that you can manage the returns from. So if I click on returns and then manage return reason, return process returns is where I need to go. We have a selection report where you can say, you know what, just show me all the returns. I hope there's some in here so that this doesn't, okay, let's do month to date. Probably aren't going to be any. Hold on. What if we do January 31st, 2007 until today? Or whatever. And click search. My gosh. This is blowing up my whole example. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to log into, let me think, there's got to be another site. Let me try our Sofio demo store. Just 1 second. Hopefully we'll find some returns in there so I can show you guys how this works. Alright, this one seems to have a lot more. Well, no returns. There it is. So you know what? I could have looked there too. Give me a second. Let's see. Maybe I can get lucky on this order and create the return request. Okay, great. All right. So I guess this particular demo store had a record in the processing log, so it's going to let me create the return request. All right. So let's pretend we were the buyer. What you would see is from this area right here to here is what you would see as the buyer. And as the seller, you can create a return request for a customer. So just like I did, I logged into a dashboard and I found an order and I clicked on the return menu from inside of the order, and then I clicked on create return request. So here are those return reasons. All right, and you can see this store has 3 possible return reasons. Let's choose unwanted part, and then I click continue. And notice it asks for a supplier RMA ID. This is an optional field. Let's say you were buying this part from one of your suppliers as opposed to from, if you were shipping it yourself, you could type in an optional RMA ID here, and you can just say, this is a test, return. I click on submit. Notice, by the way, it has subtracted the return or the handling fee and also charge the handling fee and a return restock fee. You control all that at the return reason level. And then I click submit. And once it's been processed, it's going to create a record in the returns database. Okay, it looks like there's a problem with the store. Hold on one second. Gosh, my return demo is not going well today. Let me just do something real quick. I have an idea of what might be wrong. What I just did, by the way, is I went into an admin function that said to test the database. Sometimes fields need to get added or edited in the database, and I just noticed something. It said return lines, left returns, so that's definitely what the problem was. Apologize for this. What I'm doing is I'm running it over and over again until it tells me that it's done. It cannot update a table that is in use. Okay, so that should be fine now. So now let me go back to my return, and I'll show you again what I did. I clicked on view the order. I clicked on returns, create RMA. Remember, this is me doing it as a seller on behalf of my buyer. It might give me another error now telling me that there's already a return request for that part. Let's see. All right, looks like it's okay. This is a test. And hopefully it'll give me a confirmation now telling me that it's been requested. Okay, good. So basically what we've done now is we've created a return request, and the return request creates its own ID, which is number 1026. And of course it's done it for this order, 103836. Now, it looks like it's warning me that this particular store doesn't have any supplier IDs. What that means is that customer is going to get a return request with no address to return it to. But that's just, again, because the store is not properly configured. But it's also a reminder, as I said earlier, that you have to have at least one supplier configured with your store for everything to work properly. All right, so just a reminder there. Now, let's say I'm the buyer, I got an email, I got the return request, that's my confirmation that the store received it. The seller also receives an email that says, hey, you've got a return request. I can log into my dashboard, admin EPC, click on returns. You can see there's 2 returns waiting, and I can just click search because I created one today. And here's the return. So at this point, I can edit or adjust the return. If I click on adjust, it brings up an interface similar to what you saw before. And you can see here, we can approve or reject it. We could add the supplier RMA if we now have it. I can add comments. Okay, I can adjust it if I wanted to. And when it's all set and good, if I don't want to do anything, I just click approve. And basically you can see we're approving a refund of $78. So now an email gets sent back out to the buyer. Okay, here's the address to return it. We've approved your request. Now send it back. A week goes by. The return comes back. Okay, he's going to print out that email that he got, usually, and stick it in the box. You're going to click on returns once more. You could type in the return number. You could type in his last name. You could type in your order number. Okay, you could type in the supplier's RMA number. All different ways to find the returns. For now, I'm just going to click on search to keep it simple. And then you can see here it says click to refund. Again, I could adjust it again, okay? Or I could just click to refund it. And if I click to refund it, he gets his money back. So basically, it's a 3-step process. Number 1, he creates the buyer or the seller creates the return request on behalf of the buyer. You eyeball it. In other words, you edit it, you look at it, you make sure everything's okay. You click approve. It sends the email back to the buyer. And eventually when you get the part back, you click on the, you find the return, and then you click here to refund it. Now we do have a setting that actually doesn't require you to approve the return request, if you're wondering. So you can actually turn that on so that all return requests automatically are approved, and then basically it just saves the step and saves one of those emails. But it was designed the way it was designed on purpose to create a proper paper trail, so we recommend leaving it, of course, the way that it is. Are there any questions about returns? Okay, we're getting a question that says, can we remove the restock fees? And the answer is yes. You would click on sales, and then returns, and then manage the return reasons. And let's say, for example, an appropriate one would be like incorrectly specified. I would click on edit. And then you can see here, there's a charge, and that charge is a %. I could just set that to 0, hit save, and then there wouldn't be a restock fee. Hope that makes sense. Anything else about returns? Sorry it took so long there, everybody. Okay, next on my outline was credit card processing. It looks like I did it out of order. So we've already done credit card processing, but I just want to mention one thing. If you notice, and I did actually, I guess I mentioned this, so I'm just going to reiterate it. These are links, and these are links too, even though they're not underlined. So, if I want to look at sales for the last month, I can click here, and that's going to show last month's sales, right? And that's going to be everything that happened last month. But if you notice here, it shows open orders, and typically a high volume seller is going to bookmark open orders, because open orders are just what it sounds like, orders that haven't either been charged or haven't been approved. Really, you should have no open orders at all times, right? Because you want to be processing them at all times. All right, next up was customer management. This is a simple one. So let's say a customer calls you and says, hey, I'm a repair shop and I want to buy from you more than once. Can you create an account for me? And this way I'd make it easier for me. The answer is sure. You can click on customers, right? You could add the customer right here, but it's always a good idea to first search, right? So let's say I look for, I don't know, Smith. I can click on search, all right? And it's going to find Smith anywhere in the first name, the last name, the email address. All right, I forget what the priority is. If you get too many, you might want to limit your search. Oh, I don't know, let's do Burnholz. There'll probably be a bunch of those since I've been using this as a demo store. And first off, you see you can log in as the customer, all right, which is something that you might want to do. All right, and the reason to do that, maybe you want to create the return request as the customer as opposed to doing it from within the admin. That's just one possibility. You can edit the raw data about the customer. Notice here it says active is T for true. You can inactivate a customer if you want, which would basically turn off their account. They wouldn't be able to log back into it. All right. And you can see here, how many hits they have. So basically the system's keeping track of how many times they've been to the website as a logged in customer. Let's click on edit to see what else we can do from there. So as I edit the customer, notice we can adjust pricing as the customer. Now this is a little bit confusing for some of our sellers because a lot of our sellers are Nextpart B2B sellers, and they manage their customers' prices from within their warehouse management system. But there is, I guess you could consider it a hidden feature. If you wanted to manage pricing at the customer level, you could do that from within the B2C site. If you're an integrated customer using your own management system, that is not recommended, since of course the B2C site would have different prices than your management system for that particular customer. But it is a capability. We don't cover that today because it's not something that most sellers do. If you want more information about that, there's articles in our knowledge base. I think we have some videos on it as well. But for customer management, the things you might do in here is someone might call up and say, hey, I can't figure out how to change my bill to or my ship to information. By the way, all of that can be done inside of their My Account. So, this is just here for you if you want to change it. All right, next up is coupons and discounts. So coupons and discounts, everybody's got an email from someone that they've shopped at before that said, enter this discount code to get 10% off or get $10 off. You can do all that with our system as well. To get started there, you click on marketing, then click on promotional maintenance. And you'll notice all of our admins work the same way. If you don't know what goes in these boxes, you can just click search to see if anything's there. All right, you can see this particular store has one coupon code. It's currently inactive. Let me show you. We're going to go create one. Let's say we want to create a discount called Mikey's Specials. All right, I do that. The type is coupon and discount. I click on add. All right, now it's asking me for the discount type. All right, I'm going to choose discount percentage. We're going to make it 10%. It's going to be effective as of today. And we're going to make it last for a month. All right, I'm going to put a comment. This is just for myself. Okay, 30-day discount. I can leave all these other fields blank. Hit save, and I'm done. So now I have a discount or promotion code called Mikey's Discount. Let's just see that it's saved. Here it is. So I'm going to copy it into my clipboard. I'm going to go back out to my site. Just want to show you guys that it works. Now that we have an active discount, the shopping cart is going to have a box that says enter the discount code in it. You only see that box when the store has an active code. All right, let's get to a search result. So this is when it helps to have a part number memorized. All right, here's a good example. All right, and here, well, you know what? I guess our demo store is not going to allow the discount code to work. Well, that's really weird. All right, oh, you know why? Because I'm shopping at the wrong store. Hold on, let's go to demo.sofio.com. That's where I created the discount code. And let's get a search result. By the way, for those that haven't seen this UI is what we call our SEO UI. So some of these links may not be on your site. Well, I guess if you're using our basic or our pro. I'm just trying to get a search result page so I can get a buy button. Here we go, add to cart. Okay, now in the cart, here we go. So here is the enter coupon code. And if I paste it in, Mikey's Special, and hit redeem, it should refresh the page and show us the 10% discount of $3. Right, there it is. Okay, so that is how you create a coupon or a discount. Are there any questions about that before we move on? Okay, product maintenance. Now, if you've signed up with WHI primarily to get our catalog, which is why most of our customers sign up, then you really would not likely be doing any product maintenance. You would likely be using the system, as it's designed and using our catalog content and only integrating it with a back-end system or your supplier's inventory and managing price and availability. However, we do have the ability for you to sell anything that you want, whether it's a part or otherwise, and you do that from the product maintenance section. So for example, maybe you want to add a part number that's not in the WHI catalog. You go to products, you click on product maintenance, and as you can see here, we ask you to choose a line code. Okay, these line codes are coming from our configured catalog. I can leave it blank if I want. I'm going to type in 1234. I'm going to type in Sofio. Now if I've already done this before, it's going to have me edit it. Let's just click on add and see what happens. Alright, looks like I haven't done it yet. And I'm just going to fill in some fields here. Category 1, test. This is a test part. I'm going to sell it for $10. I'll put it on special for $8. I've got 5 in stock. It weighs 2 pounds. I've got 3 on order. By the way, you don't have to add in all these fields. You just have to have a price and a stock quantity to sell it. And let's just click on save. Alright, now if I go out to the store and I search for 1234, it should come up in the search result. Okay? And basically that's how you would, that's how you would be able to add your own items to your product file. Now, if you don't want to do them one at a time, you can click on upload product data. And as you can see here, we can basically navigate to a CSV file that's somewhere out on your hard drive, and you can upload it. Now the CSV file layout is right here. Okay, you can see which fields are required by the ones with the X. All right, there's only 4 fields actually required. I believe it's the line code, the SKU or part number, the manufacturer name, and the supplier ID. You can see we've got these different supplier IDs. And if you need a sample file, which you definitely should start with, you click here to download the sample file. All right, and similar to the offline inventory, when you upload the file, it runs a process, and when that process is done, it'll send you an email. Now that's really all the time we have to talk about that today. But there's a lot you can do obviously with the product maintenance. You can put items on special, you could add your own images, you could add and edit your own descriptions. Okay. Now if you're using our SEO version, some of those features are done in a different way. So really what I'm referring to today is for basic and for pro. I thought that's important to mention because our SEO database is built differently and managed differently for you guys, and there are some limitations as to what you can edit in there. All right, so next up on the topic was actually upload product data. So I actually just covered it without I guess stumbling across it in my my schedule here. Next up is pricing. Now pricing is confusing. Pricing, or I could say, is a little, not confusing, but can be complex is a better way to say it. First off, depending on how your store is configured, it's going to determine how your pricing works. And we typically have two different types of customers. We have customers that sell their own parts and customers that sell somebody else's parts. If you're a customer selling your own part, you likely are integrated with Nextpart. And that, you probably started with a B2B site and now you're getting into retail as well. So if you're an integrated Nextpart customer, by integrated I mean your management system is connected to Nextpart, price and availability is going to come from your management system. And in that regard, in our pricing configuration at your store, you're only going to have one record. And that one record is going to have the values 1.0 over cost. So that basically we take the selling price directly from your management system and multiply it times 1, which means you're managing the pricing inside of your management system. So let's look at that. If I click on pricing maintenance, and again, like the rest of our maintenance modules here, you just click on search if you don't know what goes in there. And then we're going to click on view all. Okay, so this particular store has 5 pricing models. And I know this, of course, because I'm familiar with it, but I'm going to make it bigger so you can see. And basically what it's doing is it's saying, for items that cost between $0 and $20, mark up 80% over cost. And between $20 and $50, mark them up 50%. Well, you can see here this first record that's called default pricing model. If you were an integrated store, you would just have this row right here, and you would change all these values to 1.0. And by doing that, we would be taking the price that comes from the Nextpart feed, which comes by way of your management system, and multiplying it times 1.0. Now, if you're the type of seller that's selling somebody else's parts, in other words, you're what we might call you a pure.com, or maybe you've got an aftermarket site selling some aftermarket distributors parts in addition to your car dealership site, you're going to be using the cost markup inside of the pricing model to control your selling price. All right, and that's basically how it works. And you would click on edit. Okay, and inside of your pricing model, you would change the markup to some value, and that some value is a percentage over cost. Now, we don't get much into the pricing discussion because that's something that happens on your certification call, and we also have videos to explain it in greater detail. I just wanted to roughly cover it, but basically it's important that you have at least one pricing model, and be aware that if your pricing models have a markup, we're going to be marking up the cost that we get from the feed or from the data that we have. So it's very important to make sure you're not selling at cost, and of course that's managed all by this cost markup field right here. All right, so next up is store setup. Now again, this is something that the implementers go through with you on the certification call. So we're just going to quickly go through the important aspects of it. The most important thing to notice is there are videos on every single one of these pages. Now there's over 20 different pages in our configuration because there's a lot of features and functions within the system. So when you don't know what it does or why it does, please watch the video first. The videos are short, they're only a few minutes long. So, but I want to cover with you guys the first and most important things. First off, you're going to click on basic. And the store name, very important, right? Whether or not the store is in demo mode, very, very important. What is the domain name, right? Obviously, the domain name for your store is very important, and you want to make sure that you have it there. Now, just changing it here can literally break your store. So if you don't know what goes in there, please just leave it alone and ask for support when the right time to change it is. Of course, you don't want to change the domain name until the domain name is pointing at our data centers or at your own server. You can see here, store logo. Well, the store logo is not configured for this store. So to install one, I would click here to view it. Oh, sorry, I guess it is installed. When it's empty, I think what happens is that link would be a page to upload the logo. All right. Now, contact information. This is an important box to fill in because we use this contact information throughout the site and throughout the system. And you'll notice, on some of the pages, hey, where the heck is that information coming from? Well, it's coming from within the store settings on the basic tab here. Okay? Zip code, state, these are all pretty much self-explanatory. So you want to definitely go through the basic tab. Now, something else that's very important is returns. Okay? The return page, notice it's blank, right? Buyers send returns to. So at a minimum, you have to fill out this page so that we can give them the address of where they send their returns to. If you don't, when they get that email that says, your request has been approved for a return, send it back to, it's going to show a blank. All right, and you can see there's some additional rules here that you might want to turn on and off. Now, it is definitely recommended that even after certification, you go through these tabs and you look at them. Okay? Now notice I said look, not change. If you don't know precisely what you're doing and what the end result is going to be, please create a support ticket. Now, creating a support ticket is super easy. Once you're logged into your dashboard, you just click support right here. And I have to say if it's configured properly with our support system, it's going to automatically log you in. Let's hope that it does it. No, it didn't. So normally if it's a live store or a store that's not a trial and has been paid for, it's going to automatically log you right into your support area and you're going to see all of your tickets. Okay? And that's how you're going to get support. Hold on one second. Where were we? Okay, we were here on the store setup. Okay, last but not least is the content management. Now this is a huge topic, but it's important to review at least some of the basics that you may or may not recall from the sales demos that you hopefully did with us. Number one, our system is a content management system. And what that's telling you, or the message in all that, is you can create any number of web pages and upload as many images that you want. All right? The system is designed first and foremost to use the WHI catalog, and then we built a content management system around that, around the Sofio e-commerce system. So there's a lot of things that go on, which makes it a little bit, well, let's be honest, it's a fairly complex system to learn. But literally all of the tools that you need to add, edit, and delete pages and content are all here within your dashboard. So you're going to get started from within the content menu. Now the first thing you're going to want to do is read the designer guide. Now when you bring up the designer guide, all right, if all of this stuff looks like hieroglyphics to you and you've never seen anything like it before, that's a message to you that you're going to need an expert. And you can probably hack around and make some simple changes to your website, like uploading a logo or changing some text here and there. But the reality is if you find yourself inside of the code of the site and you're not familiar with it, you're going to most likely break your site. And obviously we don't want you to do that. So please create a support ticket and ask for help. Now, the support department is only going to help you as far as explaining to you how things we assume you already understand or should understand work. Meaning we're going to say, oh, you want to change the content of your web page? Well, here's how you do it. Step one, you need to know what design is in use. Okay, meaning are you using a template or a custom design? Then you click on the file manager, and hopefully it's going to let me in. Sometimes we disable it for the demo stores. Okay, it's letting me in, great. And then I would click on design, and then I would click on the design that's attached, the design that's in use, I should say. So you need to know that in advance, okay? and then we would click on the design that's in use. Let's say it's 001, and then templates. And then if you had read our document, you would know that the home page is called index.wws. And if I right click and click edit, I get the HTML. As I explained, if you're not familiar with what you see in here, then you should not be in here, okay? Because literally changing one character and hitting save can literally break your home page, and now your site is down and not working. And you're gonna have to wait for support to try to help you fix it. So please be very careful inside the file manager. If you are a web developer or a web designer, you're gonna have, you'll have a small learning curve to learn how it all works, but we do explain it in the, designer guide, all right? And you can download the entire design. All the files and folders and images, like you saw in the file manager, can be downloaded via FTP. If you're using our Pro package, you'll see this, create FTP account here. Now it's important, I should mention too, if you want to create an FTP account, because you don't want to use our file manager, that you, the person who uses the FTP, has their IP address whitelisted. And the only way to do that is to create the FTP account from here. So when I click on that, right, you can see it actually fills in my IP address and it generates a password for me. It's very important to let the system do that, or else the FTP is not going to work. All right. Now, if you want to create an FTP account on behalf of a web designer, you would do it from here, except you would put in their IP address right here. And the system will add the IP address to the list of allowed IPs. And you can see here is the list of allowed IPs. So you can add and remove them as you wish. All right. Now that is all we have time for with respect to content management. We ran a little bit over today. Basically now is the time when you guys get to ask me some questions. If you don't have any questions, that's also fine. I know there was a lot of information given today. I know a lot of you probably feel like, gosh, that basic training there was a lot to learn. Well, I have been recording this session today. Hopefully what I'm going to be able to do is break it down, edit it, shorten it, and create videos individually, because we haven't done that yet. And when we're done with that, we're going to put up a list of video links up on YouTube and within our support area so you can watch them as a refresher. But listen, this system should not be as overwhelming as it may seem at the moment. Really what you're going to be doing most of the time is managing orders from within this dashboard. Any question that you have about anything, you're just going to click on support, ask us the question, we're going to answer, and we're going to try to, obviously help you through support. Looks like we're getting a question here. Hold on one second. Okay, so one of the questions was, where do we create a sitemap? So a quick note about sitemaps. First off, we have a couple of different packages, and the ability to create a sitemap and what the sitemap does may be limited to the package that you have. But you would click on marketing, and then, you would click on content, and then you'll have an option for sitemap generator. If you don't have one, it's because your particular package doesn't support creating a sitemap. And if the package you have doesn't support creating a sitemap, just go to Google, type in sitemap generator, and you'll find a number of sites that will create a free sitemap for you. Sometimes it can cost 10 or 20 bucks. They have all different ones. But if you're wanting to create a sitemap for your SEO catalog, you would do that from within the content menu under sitemap generator. Now, this is somewhat of a complex topic as well, because we have a bunch of different sitemaps, and there's all different schools of thought with regards to which sitemap should be built. So as you can see here, we have 5 different sitemaps, and each one of these will create wildly different sitemaps with regards to size. So for example, the SKU sitemap would be one reference to every part number or every SKU within your catalog. Now, by the way, notice this says SEO. I guess that's because our demo.sofio site is configured to our SEO module. So what you're looking at is only available for the SEO module. And when you create a sitemap at the part number level, that might be the best one to start with. And the reason we say that is the part number landing page has a link to the fitment tab, and Google will find that tab. And the fitment tab has all of the vehicle or fitment information. And that would be a way of giving Google, hey, we have 100,000 parts in stock. here's 100,000 pages, Google will crawl and find all the data it needs about all of your products just by doing that. And that might be the best map. It might not be. So different SEO and SEM folks have different ideas about it. But if you notice here, we also have one for vehicles. Now, so you can create, there's probably at an SEO site, the map for vehicles could reference, let's say, 30,000 vehicles. So a unique vehicle is a vehicle based on year, make, model. All right, and that basically means you're going to send Google a link to, to the model page or all of the parts for that particular vehicle. Everything I'm talking about really should be well thought out, and it should work in conjunction with whatever marketing campaign you're going to do. And the reason I say that is, my belief is that SEO works as a result of SEM. So anyway, this isn't a webinar all about SEO and SEM, but to answer the question, this is where you create your sitemaps from. And if you're wondering also where you create your shopping feeds, you also do that from the marketing page. You can see here it says shopping feeds. And if you look, you'll see that we ask a bunch of different questions on this page. But again, this is stuff you should play with. It doesn't actually automatically submit these feeds to Google or Bing or anyone else. It just generates the feed, and you can go look at the feed that it generates either from within the file manager or via FTP. Looks like we have another question. Hold on, let's see. Okay, so the question was, do the different versions of the sitemaps overwrite each other? And the answer is yes. When you we do not automate the generation of the sitemap. So each time you run the sitemap, it's going to replace the sitemaps right in place of the ones that are there with whatever data is the latest and greatest. So that's basically, I guess I would say that's the extent of how the tool works today. I hope that answers the question. Great. Okay, so I'm 10 minutes late, so I need to say goodbye to everyone. I want to thank everybody for coming today. I hope I covered enough of the basic training. Like I said, we're going to splice and dice today's webinar and try to make it into 10 or 12 shorter, organized videos so you guys can go focus on the stuff you need to. I hope this was helpful. We do this every 2 weeks. It's kind of a repeat of every 2 weeks. So bottom line is, if you find the videos after we create them, there's really no need to come to the live webinar unless you have questions. Please feel free to ask as many questions as you want via email. If you want to set up a call to have us do a one-on-one webinar, we do those as part of basic support. However, the time is limited to 15 to 20 minutes, worth of help when we do those. But it is all possible. Anyway, that's it. Thanks very much. Want to wish you guys the best of luck with your store. Hope this was helpful today. Take care.